Good morning, greetings, Dean, esteemed faculty, staff, guests, parents, friends, family, and of course, the extraordinary Wharton class of 2022. Congratulations. Congratulations on your extraordinary accomplishment of graduating from the single best business school in the entire world. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, and thinking of the Wakanda reference to the greeting there, I'm going to explain something using a similar reference, and that is, I recall being at my Wharton commencement 32 years ago. So being with you all here today is a little bit like traveling through the multiverse to come and speak to the 2022 versions of my 1990 self. I know that's complicated, but I think Stan Lee would approve. So the thing is, what I want to do is tell you how extraordinary the journey that you're on is going to be, and share with you the insights that I have as a person who was in your position and who sat in this room years ago and was filled with my hopes and dreams and aspirations and a little bit of trepidation and anxiety as to whether I would realize them, and talk to you about how your journey might go. So let's start with addressing some of your anxieties. I promise you that you're going to have an amazing journey. You're going to accomplish extraordinary things. You're going to work with incredible people. You're going to discover your superpowers, and we'll come back to that in a bit. Now, you'll make some mistakes. You'll have some setbacks. You'll wonder if you've been taken off path. But ultimately, all of that's going to come together to set you up for even more success. Ultimately, you will love the life you create, and you will love the impact that you generate. So the question is, what do you have to do to make all that happen? Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to harness the seas. And by the seas, I don't mean like Aquaman. I mean the seas of change and the seas of complexity. We all know that in life, there are extraordinary barriers, walls, and obstacles, moats, virtual and real, visible and hidden. And they're all designed with one purpose. They're designed to inhibit the ability of new entrants to challenge the status quo. And of course, you all, the class of 2022, are the very definition of new entrants. But the good news is that change in all its forms, technological, environmental, industrial, political, societal, change renders all these barriers really porous. And ultimately, it can take a lot of those barriers down. So that whereas most people have a real resistance to change, a real aversion to change, that for you all, the class of 2022, the ultimate new entrants, it's critical that you embrace change, that you understand change as an extraordinary catalyst of opportunity for you. You think about the industry, my industry, technology. We've seen, my industry, media, we've seen how technology is constantly rewriting the landscape in media, right? It allows new entrants to circumvent barriers. It creates new paths to consumers. It even creates new forms of media. And that often allows new entrants to catapult ahead. But it's not just in business. It's also for individuals, where change can render incumbents' experience and expertise largely useless, and instead values people who come with new ideas and new experiences, like yourselves, new entrants. And I had that experience early on in my career. When I was a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 20-year-old and hired into BET, I had all of these great ideas. And I went to the CEO and I said, I have all of these great ideas I want to share with you. And he said, well, hold on, young man. I hired you because I have great ideas. And I want you to implement all of my great ideas, not generate your own. But I was hired just before the dot-com era, when companies were starting to transform their businesses to reflect the impact of the internet. And so I went off and I built a little business plan, and I came and I presented that business plan to him. It was a Friday afternoon, and he looked at the plan and he hated it. He said, I hate the plan, I hate the business, I hate the economics, and he threw me out. But Monday, he called me back into his office, and he said, bring your plan with you. And he said, I thought about this all weekend. I still don't like that business plan, but I understand that we have to create this business. So let's do it. And literally 6 months later, I was sitting with $35 million in startup funding, Microsoft, Interactive Corp, News Corp as partners, new office space, and a brand new role. I was the president, well, the head of BET's digital business. And that business today is a big part of BET as we go forward. So it's important. So it's important for you all to understand how change can be a catalyst for extraordinary opportunities for you. Now, the other C is complexity, which I like to think of as change's evil twin brother. Complexity stifles most people. But for you all, it's important for you to know that actually deciphering complexity is one of your superpowers. It's true. The intersection of your big intellect and all of the tools you've acquired here at the Wharton School give you the unique ability to look at complex phenomena and identify paths and opportunities and understand risks in ways that are actually allow you to get to conclusions faster and with more certainty than most people around you. And that's an extraordinary asset, and it's important that you understand that asset and that you use that asset, and you use it early. For example, in my career, when I was a young banker, the District of Columbia was locked out of the capital markets because it was undergoing a financial crisis. No banks would underwrite the district's debt. As a kid, I understood that this represented an opportunity. If I could solve this problem that no other banks could figure out how to solve, it would be transformational for my career. So I studied the district's finances, I used all my learnings from the Wharton School, and I created a structure to restore the district's assets. As a result of that structure, as a kid, literally about 6 years out of the Wharton School, undergrad, I led the transaction that restored the District of Columbia's access to the capital markets. And that's really just a function of identifying ways to navigate complexity and create value where other people can't. And I like that as a segue into understanding the value of this extraordinary degree that you have, your Wharton undergraduate degree. It's important for you to understand that this degree is an extraordinary asset that will allow you to accomplish things and give you opportunities that you otherwise wouldn't have. When I was a kid, I always asked, why would someone let that 23-year-old be the deputy treasurer of the city of Philadelphia? Why would somebody ask that same kid to chair the city's $2 billion pension fund? And why would the World Bank ask a 27-year-old to advise the government of the Republic of South Africa? And ultimately, why would anybody let a 29-year-old be an officer of a publicly traded company? Now, I was never in the room when people were discussing giving me those opportunities, but I'm pretty certain that when the question was asked, part of the reply was, well, he did go to Wharton. So, and it's important for you to understand that as you go through life, because it absolutely will give you the opportunity to pursue things much earlier in ways that your peers can't. Now, so here you are. You're riding tsunamis of change, you're hacking complexity, and you're using your Wharton degree to unlock unusual opportunities. What do you have to do next? The next thing is that you have to go full risk on. Be bold. Take risk. It's incredibly important to understand that you all, because of your intellect, because of these degrees, you have extraordinary opportunity. But to realize that extraordinary opportunity, you have to take extraordinary risk. You've been taught here at the Wharton School about the relationship between risk and return. You understand it, but understand that most people actually have a very low tolerance for risk and aren't really good at assessing risk. And so early in your career, it's important for you to learn how to assess risk and embrace risk, because the outcomes that you will realize in life are so much going to be a function of the risk that you're willing to take in the early stages of your career. So it's important to be wildly ambitious and to be bold. At BET, my colleagues and I work to be wildly ambitious, to achieve bold outcomes. We looked at what was happening in the world in 2022, the summer social unrest following the killings of members of the Black community. And we thought, what is BET's response to this? Corporate America was announcing initiatives that impact racial disparities, but we decided that wasn't enough. BET had to do more. We actually wanted to try to attack the underlying issue itself, and that is racism. We consider racism to be America's longest enduring virus. And so we created an initiative called Content for Change. Content for Change is designed to use content to counteract the racist narratives and beliefs that exist in this country. In effect, Content for Change is an initiative to try to inoculate America against the virus of racism. And I think when we reflect on the horrific crime that was committed yesterday in New York, that we understand that the need for imperatives like this is really extraordinary. So be bold in everything that you do. Now, the last thing I want to share with you is just the importance of maintaining the alignment of your values, your aspirations, and your work. If you can get those three things to align, you will absolutely thrive and you will flourish. And the world, because of all the change that occurs in it, will challenge you in that respect. But it's so important to keep those things aligned. And it's also important for you to understand that your values may differ from those around you. I learned this when I was in my 30s. A colleague was admonishing me because I wasn't making the decisions that was going to set me on a path to be a billionaire. And he considered this an extraordinary failing on my part. And I actually, for a moment, thought maybe I had failed too. But then I reflected that I didn't start this journey to generate billions for myself. I started this journey to generate billions for myself and for my community. And I recalled a conversation that I had with my grandfather when I was a student here at the Wharton School, where I called him and said, I'm torn between continuing at Wharton and leaving to go and try to impact the issues that are harming my community. And my grandfather counseled me to stay, finish, get your degree, and acquire the skills that will allow you to have the greatest impact for yourself and for your community. And I wonder if my grandfather at the time envisioned that I would ultimately wind up leading a company like BET, a company that is dedicated to service Black Americans, a company that is poised to be the first company created by and created for Black Americans to generate $1 billion in annual revenue. Or I wonder if what my grandfather understood is what I learned and what you all will learn, which is that this extraordinary Wharton degree equips anyone to succeed at any initiative that's reflective of your values and your aspirations. I think it's important for you all to keep that in mind. So, Wharton undergraduate class of 2022, your profound intellect, this incredible education, your amazing capabilities, and all the change that the world is going to create around you is going to create extraordinary opportunities for you. I encourage you to be wildly ambitious in the pursuit of your ambitions and to always be guided by your values. And with each success, I assure you, you will have enormous radical impact on everything around which you care. And that's so important. So in closing, congratulations, class of 2022. You've accomplished an extraordinary thing. And I'll just end by saying, you have extraordinary capabilities, and you know that that means you also have extraordinary responsibilities. Please go forth and use your extraordinary capabilities to help make this world a better place. Thank you. Congratulations.